Welcome to our explainer of an absolutely phenomenal 5-issue DC Black Label comic pitch known simply as Static. We're going to skip the usual warm-up today because we really need to plunge right into the chilling, rain-slicked premise of this series Bible. I want you to imagine a Gotham City that isn't just terrorized by theatrical villains, but one that actively deletes people from reality. This pitch introduces a world where the city's most vulnerable are quietly erased, and an entirely new kind of operator is literally the only one pulling them back from the void. I mean, listen to this quote. She didn't become the clown, she repossessed the clown. That right there instantly establishes the gritty, post-clown, punk noir tone of the series. We're looking at a story where the aesthetics of Gotham's absolute worst nightmares are scavenged, stripped of their original allegiance, and wielded like armor. It tells us right out of the gate that we aren't dealing with some Joker's sidekick, but a survivor who has completely weaponized the visual language of fear to keep herself and her people safe. And that brings us to the central mystery that just drops us right into the heart of the story. Ask yourself, what if the most dangerous person in Gotham wasn't trying to destroy the city or rule it, but collect it? What if she was gathering up everything and everyone the city threw away? It forces us to completely reimagine the nature of a threat in Gotham City. It shifts the focus entirely from explosive destruction to unauthorized salvation. Just take in the grimy, wet, electric vibe of this world. We've got our new protagonist sitting atop a massive pile of dead CRT televisions. There's a crow by her side, and Batman is just looming in the rain behind her. It visually communicates this incredible street-level tension and punk rescue mythology so perfectly. She has completely claimed this space, turning discarded tech into a throne. It projects this chaotic, lived-in energy that contrasts so sharply with the Dark Knight's shadowy, ordered presence. Okay, so Section 1. Gotham's Quiet Deletions. Invisibility as Policy. To truly understand this world, we really have to understand the true crime taking place. Gotham isn't just losing people to supervillains dropping laughing gas from blimps, right? It is systematically deleting them through administration. Look at how this city masks lethal outcomes with incredibly clean procedural language. Discharge, transfer, denial, relocation, non-compliance. These are the mundane words used to erase the unhoused, the addicts, the patients released from Arkham, and the foster kids who age out of the system. Gotham basically files them under later until later becomes a body bag. The language is perfectly humane on paper, which makes the undeniably lethal consequences almost entirely invisible to someone like Batman. Moving right along to Section 2, the anomaly, the unauthorized checksum. So when the system deletes, it eventually encounters an anomaly. Enter Violet Wren. She is, quite literally, the file that refuses to save. While Batman is looking at records he genuinely believes are clean, Violet is finding the corruption hidden right inside the data itself. She grew up in the foster system, fell through every single net, and encountered Gotham's toxic clown logic along the way. But look at your design. She didn't join up. She took the clown aesthetic that frightened people, the face paint, the sharp smile, the Harlequin diamonds, and rebuilt it as a hazard suit. It's not an allegiance at all, it's a boundary language. She smart codes it rather than Joker codes it. If we break down her specific visual motifs, you see pretty quickly that this isn't just fashion, it's pure function. Her signature purple is a warning color. It's a scar color she uses to mark safe paths. The repurposed diamonds, that's survival geometry. And her baseball bat, this is fascinating. It isn't fetishized as a murder weapon. It is a boundary object. It clearly declares this door is closed, further inquiries will be redirected to lumber. These are the visual trophies of a person who is desperately needed to make danger reconsider its schedule. Now, to protect these vulnerable people, Violet has built what's known as the Static Network. It's a loose, chaotic, but weirdly functional underground safety net. Notice the tools she uses: dead CRT TVs that act as warnings, archives, and proof that discarded things can still transmit. She uses burner phones, stolen paperwork, and even crows as opportunistic watchers. When her sigil, which is a circle, a diamond, and a burst of static, appears on a broken screen, it means someone saw what happened here. It means you are not deleted. And as you might guess, this creates a really fascinating friction. We have a direct collision of worldviews here. Batman represents ordered good. He relies on containment, strict evidence, and rigid categorization to save lives. Violet, on the other hand, represents chaotic good. Her singular, urgent focus is immediate extraction, evasion, and basic survival. Batman wants the evidence preserved to build a solid case. Violet just wants the victims out of the condemned building right now. Neither worldview gets to fully swallow the other, and it creates this totally honest, genuinely gripping tension. Which brings us to Section 3, the real monster, the architecture of beige evil. We are completely pivoting away from the theatrical rogues gallery here. The real monster in this pitch doesn't monologue on a rooftop or wear a flashy spandex costume. It is the infrastructure of administration itself, weaponized for profit. We call this beige evil. It is an institutionally boring system of contracts, liability shields, and polite emails. But this system masks completely lethal harm behind the veneer of polite corporate efficiency. Because the villainy is so incredibly mundane, so wrapped in municipal complexity and zoning hearings, no single desk contains the whole crime. This quote is honestly going to stick with me. The monster has a LinkedIn. Let that chilling reality sink in for a second. This antagonist is a private equity-backed housing firm with a 4.2-star Glassdoor rating. People actually like working there. They probably have great snacks in the break room, you know? The real tragedy is that a reasonably nice project manager could work there for 6 years and never once realize they are actively hurting anyone, simply because the harm is buried so deep beneath humane-sounding spreadsheets. So how exactly does this firm, Gotham Continuity Housing Partners, operate? Well, they have a playbook. First, they acquire vulnerable care infrastructure, places like shelters. Next, they intentionally degrade the services under the very polite guise of efficiency mandates. Then, they displace the residents using policy friction. And finally, they monetize the empty buildings as redevelopment opportunities. The paperwork is squeaky clean, but the result on the streets is deadly. Let's look at the layers of this corporate villainy. They've got an entire beige arsenal at their disposal. You have Harbor Light Response, which is a private security firm that uses trauma-informed language and hands out branded coffee while aggressively clearing out shelters. Then you have Alder and Finch, a boutique crisis PR firm whose entire job is to take displacement and sanitize it into compassionate, emotionally false statements. It's all protected by a labyrinth of city contracts that makes the whole operation virtually bulletproof. Now for Section 4, the paradigm shift, Batman's taxonomy problem. This whole situation creates a massive paradigm shift for the Dark Knight. Batman categorizes absolutely everything: threat, victim, rogue, ally. But Violet Wren and this beige evil simply do not fit into his files. And guys, that is the emotional blade of the series. This isn't just a simple story about Batman learning to be a nicer guy. It is about Batman realizing his rigid taxonomy of threats and victims is vastly incomplete. He learns that Gotham contains deep truths that his brilliant, expensive surveillance systems didn't capture, mostly because his system stopped counting when people stopped being profitable to find. He learns the hard way that his file system is not the city. This forces Batman into a devastating ethical trap regarding what we're calling the cost of being witnessed. To defeat the beige evil, Batman needs to use the public record to expose their paperwork and their body count. But making things public also risks exposing Violet's hidden nest and the highly vulnerable people she protects. The very invisibility that made them disposable in the first place is also the only thing keeping them safe from the system. Visibility becomes a power, but it comes with a heavy, heavy price. So because the villain is a corporation, the climax is completely non-explosive, yet it's deeply, deeply satisfying. We get what's called a procedural collapse. The villains don't fall to a massive fistfight on a bridge. They fall to humiliating compliance. When the paper trail is finally forced into the public record, the evidence becomes impossible to dismiss. Investors panic, liability blooms, and city officials immediately distance themselves. The monster is defeated by injunctions and dead-eyed legal counsel. In the aftermath of all this, we linger on the thematic weight of Batman's final, unresolved file entry. Violet plants her black flag, reading, "Keep out, this nest is mine," on a Wayne-owned building. Batman just stands in the rain below it. He doesn't recruit her, he doesn't arrest her, he just leaves the flag up. And in his immaculate, perfectly ordered file system, he creates a brand new category for Violet Wren, classification pending. He consciously chooses to leave space for a truth his systems simply cannot fully process. It is such a brilliant, grounded narrative that leaves us with an incredibly powerful question to chew on. What hidden truths in our own cities survive only because someone unauthorized is keeping them alive? Static is just an absolute masterclass in systemic critique, all wrapped up in an urban noir thriller. It challenges how we view administration, visibility, and care in our actual real-world communities. So keep questioning the clean paperwork. And as always, thank you so much for joining us on this explainer.